Hi all. Section 4.3 is all about right triangle trigonometry, and it really has some useful information within. So what we're going to be doing this section as far as our learning objectives is we're going to be using the right triangles to evaluate the trigonometric functions. If you're not already familiar with it, we'll certainly be looking at those common angles within the unit circle at 30, 45, and 60, pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. You should already know the cosine and sine at each of those values. We know at pi over 6, the cosine square root of 3 over 2, sine is 1/2. Pi over 4, they're both the square root of 2 over 2. And at pi over 3, your cosine is 1/2 and your sine is the square root of 3 over 2. So now we're just going to be looking at those within a triangle dimensions. We'll use equal cofunctions of complements, and then we'll use right triangle trigonometry to solve applied problems. So some good word problems, fun stuff. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about the right triangle definitions of trigonometric functions. So whenever we want to talk about what sine, cosine, and tangent is within a triangle, if you remember, the sine is the y component on a unit circle. And that's because it's the opposite side of a triangle divided by the hypotenuse. If you look at my triangle down here, and if you would think about this being within a unit circle where that C value is 1, and you'd say, well, the sine is just the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is your Y value here divided by 1. So in the same manner, it's really the same definition when I say the sine inside any triangle is the length of the side opposite the angle theta divided by the hypotenuse. Well, what if it's not a unit circle? Well, then you would be dividing by whatever that radial length, or in this case, whatever the hypotenuse of the triangle is. The cosine is equal to the adjacent side of the triangle over the hypotenuse. One of the things I'm always wanting you to think of is sine should relate to a vertical change. Cosine should relate to a horizontal change. That's why the sine of theta is the vertical change over the hypotenuse. The cosine of theta is the horizontal change over the hypotenuse. And then the tangent is just the ratio of the opposite over the adjacent. Now, normally I do a mnemonic device here, SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. I'll put that in our homework solution so you can use that to help out. I never forget what sine, cosine, and tangent is within those triangles because I always just think SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent, the TOA, is opposite over adjacent. So now, in general, the trigonometric functions of theta depend upon the size of the angle theta and not the size of the triangle. So these relationships for theta, it's irrelevant whether C is 5,000 or 5. As long as the ratios are the same in there, your angle theta is going to be the same regardless of however large each of the sides are. Now, we already know that the sine is opposite over adjacent. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the cosecant's the reciprocal of that. It's hypotenuse over opposite. Secant's just the reciprocal of cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So your secant function is hypotenuse over adjacent. And we said tangent was opposite over adjacent, so its reciprocal cotangent is just going to be the adjacent side over the opposite side. Now, let's use that and find some solutions to examples here. If I ask you to find the 6 trigonometric functions regarding to the figure drawn, well, the first thing you could do is one thing you can just look at that triangle and you could recognize, ooh, that's one of our special case triangles. John, that's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And if you automatically see that, wonderful. If you don't see that, you know that the hypotenuse is always equal to the square root of the sum of the squares of the legs. So C is going to equal 3 squared, or the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared. You can see I did that over here. 3 squared plus 4 squared gives me 25. So the side C is the positive square root of 25. We know it can't be negative. It's the length of the hypotenuse. So you just say, well, our hypotenuse is 5. And again, that's one of our special case triangles of 3, 4, 5. Now, any multiple of that would also be a special case triangle. So what if I said this size is 6, sorry, this A is 6, B is 8, guarantee you, C would be 10. What if this was 9 and this was 12? Then this would be 15. What if this was 12 and this was 16? This would be 20. So any multiple of a 3, 4, 5 triangle is also a special case triangle. But now to get back to this problem, once you know that that hypotenuse is 5, the problem is very easy. You can say, well, the sine is the ratio of the opposite over hypotenuse. The sine of theta is 3/5. The cosine of theta is the ratio of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Well, it's 4/5. The tangent of theta is the ratio of opposite over adjacent, so 3/4. And then once we know the sine, we take the reciprocal of that to get to the cosecant. Once we know the cosine, we take the reciprocal of that to get to the secant. And once we know the tangent, we take the reciprocal of that to get to the cotangent. You'll notice as I do the homework solutions for this section, I do sine, cosine, and tangent, and then out beside of them, I put each of the reciprocals so it's easier to see in the homework solutions. Now, if I ask you to find the values for some special angle, well, as we've already seen, if you're at 45 degrees or pi over 4 on a unit circle, then the x component is going to be the square root of 2 over 2, and the y component is also the square root of 2 over 2. Well, you could also say if you don't have to have a unit circle, the square root of 2 over 2, it's equivalent to 1 over the root of 2. So if I wanted each of these legs to be of length 1, then you could say, well, all right, I know a 45-degree angle is going to be in any triangle that has the horizontal component and the vertical component go up the same amount. Of course, that's at a 45-degree angle. Now, I could say, well, if both of these are 1, then the hypotenuse has to be the square root of 1 squared plus 1 squared, which is 1 plus 1. We got our 2 in there. So we shouldn't be surprised when we look at this and say, well, both the sine and the cosine would be 1 over the root of 2 here. 1 over the root of 2 is equivalent to the rationalized fraction, the square root of 2 over 2. And you get the same point as what we have on the unit circle at 45 degrees or pi over 4 radians. Now, if we look at a right triangle that has a 30 degree or pi over 6 radian angle, and it's also going to have a 60 degree or pi over 3 within the same 30, 60, 90 triangle, then what we're going to have in that case is the short side of the triangle is always going to be length 1, and the long side is going to be the square root of 3. And if your sides are 1 and the root of 3, then you know your hypotenuse has to be the square root of the root of 3 squared plus 1 squared, which is the square root of 3 plus 1. This gives me the square root of 4, which is 2. Now I can say, well, all right, now this shows me that the sine of 60 degrees is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Hey, square root of 3 over 2. It's the same value we would get on the unit circle. Well, what about the cosine of 60 degrees? It would be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, 1/2. Again, that's the same value you would get from the unit circle. Notice you could also look at your 30-degree angle up here and say, well, the sine should be opposite over hypotenuse. So relative to that angle, opposite is the lower portion, 1, and then you still have it over the hypotenuse. The sine of 30 would be 1 over 2. What about if you looked up here at the 30 and said, well, what about the cosine of this angle 30? Cosine would be the side adjacent to 30 degrees. That's this side. And you'd say, well, the cosine of this 30-degree angle here would be the square root of 3 over 2. If we have a 45-degree angle, we already said that the sine and cosine of a 45-degree angle is 1 over the root of 2. So obviously the cosecant and the secant would just be the reciprocal of 1 over the root of 2, which gives us square root of 2 over 1, square root of 2 for each of those. And we know that the cotangent and the tangent, since the opposite and adjacent are the exact same thing, you can just say, well, it's both the tangent and cotangent of a 45-degree angle is 1. Now, what if I say the tangent of a 60-degree angle? So I'm looking down here at my triangle, and I can say, okay, if I'm looking at the tangent of a 60-degree angle, and this is the same triangle as I had 2 pages ago, I could say, well, all right, the tangent is the ratio of opposite over adjacent. So I can say, well, it's the root of 3 over 1, which just simplifies to be the root of 3. If I say the tangent of 30 degrees, I would go up here and say, well, relative to that 30 degrees, the opposite side is 1, and the adjacent side is going to be the root of 3. So I would get 1 over the root of 3, and I would be okay with that answer. But then if you wanted to rationalize it, which if you're trying to match an answer on My Math Lab or the book, it's probably wise to do, you could multiply by the root of 3 over the root of 3 to get our final answer of the root of 3 over 3. Now, these are just some common values at 30, 60, and at 30, 45, and 60 degrees, pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3 radians. We should already be very familiar with every single one of these values just from our knowledge of the unit circle. Now, the tangent usually gives students a little bit more trouble. Now, the tangent of pi over 4, you should know, hey, that's splits quadrant 1. Your sine and cosine are the same values there, so clearly your tangent is 1 there. But usually students struggle a little bit more with these. And what I just remind students that since tangent is the ratio of sine over cosine, for small angles where the y value is low, you know your tangent has to be less than 1. Then as the angle gets closer and closer to 90 degrees, as soon as it passes the 45-degree barrier, that y value gets greater than the x value. So of course your tangent value becomes greater than 1. So I can say for any angle greater than 45 degrees, my tangent function is going to be greater than 1. For any angle less than 45 degrees, my tangent function is going to be less than 1. At pi over 6 radians or 30 degrees, the ratio of sine to cosine is the square root of 3 over 3, or 1.732 to 3. By the time you get to the square root of 3, the y value is 1.732 times the size of the horizontal component at that point. Now, if I'm talking about trigonometric functions and their complements, we can say two positive angles are complements if their sum is 90 degrees. So if they add up to 90 degrees or pi over 2 radians, they're complements of one another. Now, the nice thing about complements is if I have a function and then another function of the complement of that angle, and I can say that they're the exact same thing, well, then those two functions are called cofunctions of one another. Now, within a right triangle here, you can see that if I let this angle be theta, well, clearly the other angle has to be 90 degrees minus theta, because you know the right angle is 90 degrees itself. There's a sum of 180 degrees total in the triangle. So whatever this angle theta is, this other angle has to be the remaining 90 degrees minus that angle theta. Now, because of that relationship, we're going to be able to see, for example, the sine and the cosine of its complement are going to be equal to the exact same thing. The tangent and the cotangent of its complement are going to be equal to the exact same thing. That's what I'm showing you on this page. The sine of theta and the cosine of the complement of theta, which would be 90 degrees minus theta, they're the exact same thing. So what I'm saying here is if I say, well, the sine of 40 degrees, well, the sine of 40 degrees is the same thing as the cosine of 50 degrees, because 90 minus 40 would be 50. So I can say, oh, sine of 40, same thing as the cosine of 50. What about if I wanted to find what angle inside of a cotangent function would be equal to the tangent of 10 degrees? I guarantee you the cotangent of 80 degrees would be equal to the tangent of 10 degrees. What about the secant of, let's say, 20 degrees? The cosecant of 70 degrees, you'd say 90 minus 20. You find its a complement, put it inside of its cofunction, and the two are going to be equal to one another. So sines and cosines have that relationship, cotangents and tangents, and cosecants and secants. Now, if theta is in radians, we can replace 90 degrees with pi over 2. So it's whether it adds up to 90 degrees or pi over 2 radians, it's that same relationship at all times. Now, let's look at a problem like I was talking about. If I say, tell me a cosine function that is equivalent to the sine of 46 degrees. You'd say, well, okay, the sine of 46 degrees should equal the cosine of 90 minus 46 degrees. 90 minus 46 is 44. I promise you, and you can check your calculator to check me on this. The sine of 46 degrees and the cosine of 44 degrees, they're the exact same value. If I look at the cotangent of pi over 12 and I say, tell me a tangent function that is equal to a cotangent of pi over 12, you'd say, well, all I'd have to do is find the complement. The complement of pi over 12 would be pi over 2 minus pi over 12. Pi over 2 minus pi over 12. If I get a common denominator there, this is 6 pi over 12 minus 1 pi over 12. So the complement of that would be 5 pi over 12. I promise you, the cotangent of pi over 12 is the exact same value as the tangent of 5 pi over 12. Now, let's look at an application problem. So this one is looking at angle of elevation and angle of depression. So please notice how we have it labeled in the problem. If you're looking at the horizontal, which the horizontal in this problem is labeled as the line of sight, then the angle you have from the horizontal up to some object is always called the angle of elevation. So it's the angle with the horizontal base here, that's the line of the sight, up to this object. That's always going to be given the angle of elevation. Well, the angle of depression is if you have something beneath the horizontal, which again, the horizontal in this case is the line of sight of this observer. And if he's looking at this car moving away, well, then the angle he would have to take to look down at that car, that would be called the angle of depression. Now, I'm supposed to find, it says, find the angle formed by the horizontal line in the line of sight to an object that is above the horizontal line called the angle of elevation. The angle formed, this is just what I was talking about. The angle formed by the horizontal line in the line of sight to an object that is below the horizontal is called the angle of depression. So I forgot, I was just talking about here what I was talking about in my picture down here. Now, let's go ahead and look at a problem dealing with that though. So in this problem, I have some irregular blue shape. You can think of it as a lake or something here. It is representing a lake. The distance across the lake, A, is unknown. I want to find A. To find this distance, a surveyor took the measurement. Let's say for some reason you couldn't walk across the lake here, but you could measure the distance on this side of the lake. So he measured this distance here. He found C to be 750 yards. And then he found the angle of elevation to the other side of the lake to be 24 degrees. If we know that, then how could we find the side of A? Well, you need to be thinking which trigonometric function deals with the opposite side of the angle that you know and the adjacent side of an angle that you know. Opposite and adjacent, that's our tangent function. The tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. Woo-hoo! So now I'll go in and say, well, the tangent of the angle that I know, tangent of 24 degrees, should equal A over 750. Now I can solve out for A and just say, if I were to solve for A here, I need to multiply by 750 on each side. So I can say, well, A is equal to 750 times the tangent of 24 degrees. You need to make sure your calculator is in degree mode here. And if you do that, and then you type in 750 tangent of 24 degrees, you should get that A is approximately going to be 333.9 yards across the lake. Now, I should have put yard, well, I labeled it down here in my sentence answer. The distance across the lake is approximately 333.9 yards. Now, that'll do it for this section. For 4.3, please do try the homework. As always, I've already done the homework for the book part of the sections. It should closely resemble what you're doing on my math lab, but at any time, if you have any questions, please let me know.